The United States and Europe have been drifting apart. Trump's back in the White House, NATO's under pressure, tariffs are up and tensions are high. Just when the transatlantic relationship seemed ready to crack, in steps Giorgia Meloni. She's Italy's prime minister, a right-wing populist, a wild card in the European Union, and maybe, just maybe, the last bridge between America and Europe. So here's the question. Did Meloni just save the transatlantic alliance? If you're done with globalist nonsense and ready for straight talk, subscribe to America's Geopolitics. Now let's break it down. Let's be honest. The U.S.-Europe relationship really hasn't been an alliance for years. It's been a polite arrangement held together by habit and nostalgia. The U.S. defends Europe, Europe buys Russian gas, the U.S. runs the global economy, Europe complains about American power but cashes in on it. You know, that worked when America wanted to lead the world, but those days are gone. Now Trump's back, and he's not interested in partnerships that don't pay off. He raised tariffs on European cars, he's questioned NATO constantly, he's pushing allies to choose sides, America or China. And Europe? It's fractured at the moment. Germany's economy is falling apart, France is flirting with Beijing, Eastern Europe is begging the U.S. not to walk away from Ukraine. This isn't a united bloc. And then comes Giorgia Meloni. Not a bureaucrat, not a globalist, not a Eurocrat playing nice in Brussels. She's blunt, nationalist, pro-sovereignty, and she's figured something out. If Europe wants to stay relevant, it needs a real connection to Washington. And she's willing to be that connection. Unlike Macron or Schultz, she's not trying to lecture Trump. She's speaking his language. Tough on immigration, tough on crime, tough on China. And Trump likes that. When they met last week, the media tried to downplay it, but behind closed doors, they talked NATO, trade, and reshaping the U.S.-EU relations. She didn't ask for favors, she offered alignment. So why does this even matter? Well, because Meloni might be the only leader in Europe who can get Trump to listen. He doesn't respond to weakness, he only responds to strength and clarity. He loves to get results. Meloni's not trying to preserve the old alliance, she's trying to build a new one, on different terms. One that isn't built on guilt and legacy, but on trade, defense, and national interest. That's why Trump respects her. That's why Italy suddenly is more relevant than Germany or France. This is way more about positioning than diplomacy. Meloni is turning Italy into a hinge state, close enough to the EU to shape it, independent enough to speak for herself, aligned enough with the U.S. to serve as a channel. She's already voiced support for more equitable NATO spending, she's advocated for tougher border controls across the EU, and now she's opening the door to U.S.-EU trade reset. Without the bureaucratic fluff. She's not talking about climate targets or gender quotas. She's talking about steel, energy, and sovereignty. Trump gets that, and Europe, they can't ignore it. Here's the wild part. Meloni might not be trying to save the EU. She might be preparing for post-EU Europe, one built around national alliances instead of Brussels rule. And if that's the case, she's not just a player, she's the pivot point of everything that comes next. Of course, Brussels is freaking out. Meloni threatens everything they've built. Open borders, shared debt, top-down control from unelected technocrats. They call her a threat to democracy. They say she's too cozy with Trump. They say she's playing both sides. But here's the thing. The old elite have no answers. Germany can't lead. Macron isn't trusted. Van der Leyen is a lame duck. And Meloni, she's doing what the rest won't do. She's adapting. She knows the world has changed, and she's adjusting to power instead of pretending everything's fine. Behind the headlines, Meloni is keeping Italy committed to Ukraine without alienating Trump, advocating for new trade channels with the U.S. outside of EU red tape, building a new axis of European countries, Poland, Hungary, Czechia, that align with U.S. goals. She's not just managing crisis, she's shaping the map. And she's doing it without waiting for permission. That's what makes her so dangerous to the old system, and so valuable to the new one. This isn't just about Meloni, it's about the future of Western power. If the U.S.-EU relationship breaks down, Russia gets more aggressive, China gets more leverage, NATO fractures, and Europe becomes a political backwater. But if Meloni can hold the thread together, if she can translate between Trump and Europe, then maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance for a transatlantic future. Not the old alliance, but something leaner, stronger, more real. So did Giorgia Meloni just save the transatlantic alliance? Not yet, but she might be the only one trying. And right now, that makes her one of the most important leaders on the planet. She's not just working the room, she's flipping the script. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Meloni the future of Europe or just the last voice of reason? Drop your take, hit like, and make sure to subscribe to America's Geopolitics. This is Frank. See you next time.